first, live, local. This is Fox 12 Now.
Hello everyone, this is Fox 12 Now. I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us today. That is a live shot from our ski bowl camera up there on top of the mountain. You can kind of see the lift run right there, and obviously no snow, but it is really nice up there in the mountains. I'm sure a lot of people are getting out and enjoying that. We're going to talk in part about that, but also things you shouldn't do or that you can do to help out the ODFW. So again, I am Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now. We start live streaming here every weekday starting around 1 p.m. Pacific, and we go throughout the afternoon broadcasting here from our desk in the Fox 12 Oregon newsroom. You can download the Fox 12 Oregon app, go to kptv.com. We're on YouTube, all places to watch these segments as well afterward. But yes, the ODFW has a Turn In a Poacher campaign. So this is pretty much as it says. The idea is an initiative to help people identify, but also turn in poachers and in some cases financially reward you. We're going to talk all about the program though, because we have Yvonne Shaw joining us, who's program coordinator or campaign coordinator for this. And, you know, Yvonne, thank you very much for being here to talk about this. This is obviously important and we're going to get into the details, but I know specifically there is something that was announced, I believe yesterday, talking about a mule deer that was poached over in Madras. Can you tell us about what this exact issue is?
Sure. This was the illegal killing of a doe deer in Madras, actually in the city limits. Somebody called the Turn-In Poachers tip line to report that they had found the animal. And when OSP Fish and Wildlife troopers arrived, they found a doe deer that had been shot in the stomach with an arrow. And this is egregious for a few reasons. Number one, it's not season for hunting deer. You would never shoot a deer that way. It's a painful death for them to have. You would never shoot in the city limits. And unfortunately, this doe probably had a fawn.
Wow. So, I mean, that's just so many different check marks right there of why that is, as you said, egregious. And is there any, so somebody called the Turn In a Poacher campaign, and were there any leads, or is it still just kind of an open investigation?
Sure, it's an open investigation. Oregon State Police Fish and Wildlife Division are eager to hear any reports or information that anyone has. There is a $1,000 reward being offered by the Oregon Hunters Association for any tip that results in either an arrest or a citation, of course. And we live in a great big state. That photo you showed earlier was beautiful. And we have so much land, waterway, and beaches. It's impossible for all of our troopers to survey all of it. So we ask the public to be aware of what's going on and call in suspicious activity.
And how much, yeah, because you mentioned, I mean, it's such an expansive amount of territory. Yeah, there's no way that you'd be able to patrol all that. And how much poaching does go on in the state of Oregon generally in a year or this time of the year?
Last year, Oregon State Police Fish and Wildlife troopers detected at least 5,000 animals that had been poached. And this probably represents just a small fraction of the poaching that actually happens. Because so much happens in rural areas, out in the ocean, other areas where they just can't patrol all the time. But we encourage people, if they see something, to say something.
And what kinds of animals are poaching? Obviously, that's a mule deer or a deer that was in city limits. What kinds of animals are we talking about that are generally poached?
Unfortunately, all animals are susceptible to this, but some of the things we particularly ask people to look out for this time of year are sturgeon. We have an amazing sturgeon population here in Oregon that's on the decline. Unfortunately, some of this is related to poaching. So if you're out on the water and you see somebody pull in a sturgeon and put it in an unusual container or hide it in the bushes, that would be something to call in. If you see somebody casting light from a vehicle at night, they could be spotlighting. That would be something to call in. If you're out on one of the docks or the beaches and you notice people coming in with limits of crab or other fish, dropping them in the trunk of the car and then going out to get more, that's something you would want to call in.
And can we talk on the education side of things? Why is it so important to control poaching and stop this and turn it in when it is spotted?
Sure, it is important because we want to protect Oregon's wildlife for future generations. And our wildlife already face so many challenges, including loss of habitat. This year we have drought going on. They lose their migration corridors when we put in new roads, all of those things. Poaching is one of those additive things. It's somebody making a decision on the spot. Yes, I'm going to impact future generations. I'm going to remove this wildlife or these fish illegally because I want to. I mean, that's something that somebody has direct control over. They either make the right decision or the wrong decision. And all of those decisions add up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a crime not only against, the wildlife population, but also against all of us who live here in the Northwest and everything. So when it comes to that, and I want to talk about for general people, but when it comes to the punishment side for poachers, what are some of the potential punishments that poachers could face should they be caught?
Sure. So some of these cases are actually felony crimes. The Oregon State Legislature back in 2019 approved raising the penalties for poaching case up to felony crimes. We've also, in the last few years, brought on a wildlife special prosecutor through the Department of Justice. His name is Jay Hall, and so he's been working with counties to help prosecute some of these cases and to help educate some of our prosecutors in how to try these cases. There's plenty of work to be done, and as people become more aware of the incidents of poaching, they're more likely to turn people in and more likely to be prosecuted.
Well, to that extent, for the general public out there, people who are out camping or maybe doing something, a legal activity, for the people that are out there, what are some of the tips and tricks and things that they can look out for should they see poaching happening? And then what do they do if they are out there and happen to witness it?
If they suspect any activity, any crimes against fish and wildlife, or habitat destruction, they can call STAR OSP, STAR 677, which will take them to OSP dispatch. And when they make that call, we ask them, if possible, and without endangering themselves, of course, be safe first. But if they can provide a vehicle description, the location of the incident, the species involved, was it a fish, was it a deer, was it a raptor, a description of the people who were involved. And here's one of the best things they can get is a license plate. So if you're able to just provide that information with a call, if you see suspicious activity, that will go so far in solving these cases.
That's great. Yeah, and as you mentioned, be safe. Obviously, if may not be, whoever it is that's doing this, you may not want to get involved with them personally, but if you can get all that info, that's great. What are some other big things, from the ODFW standpoint that people can be doing out there to help you? When it comes to this huge territory that you're in charge of watching over?
Yeah, just be aware of your surroundings. So we get calls from people onto the tip line saying, hey, just today we had a call from somebody saying they located a duck that had been stabbed and it still had the knife in it. It's about paying attention. I know it's awful. It's about paying attention to your surroundings, just being aware of what should or shouldn't be there, and just paying attention to specific elements like, is there wildlife in danger? Did you find a carcass? Is there somebody out there with a dart gun or a pellet gun where they shouldn't have one? Just stay aware of their situation and don't be afraid to make a call. The worst that'll happen is it's a call that it leads to a positive encounter between a trooper and somebody who's out there legally hunting or fishing and enjoying our wildlife.
Yeah. For people who are out there who do hunt and fish, what's the best way for them to follow up and make sure that they are following the laws and not accidentally poaching something that they didn't realize they shouldn't?
That's a great question. They can get copies of our hunting and fishing regulations and our bird game hunting regulations from ODFW, from their local buy mart, from their local sportsman show. And just be sure and consult those regulations before they're out and about. They can also, as another resource, go to the ODFW recreation report, and that will give them the latest update on the fishing areas in particular that are open. So we really encourage people to check before you go, check the regulations, check the rec report. Go out there, follow the rules of the road, and have a great time enjoying Oregon's natural resources.
Yeah, and keeping it there and available, and for all of us for the future. Well, Yvonne, thank you very much, for joining us to talk about this and to share that info. And once again, for somebody, I just want to reiterate it, for the Turn In a Poacher campaign. The best way for people to report it, is that just to call in? Is there a good way online, or what are those different options?
Sure, they can go online to the ODFW website, Oregon State Police Fish and Wildlife website, and there are links there to report or to submit a form. But I think that star 677, if you're in cell range, star OSP, really is the quickest way to get to dispatch, and then they can forward it to the nearest Fish and Wildlife trooper.
Are you able to send in pictures via that, just to clarify? Or is that just to call? You call that number?
Sure, they can call that number, and then they'll be put in touch with the trooper, and then the trooper, of course, would be very interested in pictures.
Gotcha. Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, for joining us here today to talk about this and to help get the information out there and get the word out about these things. Going back to what you said at the beginning, $1,000 reward there for anybody who has information that can lead to that in Madras for what happened there. But thanks to the public out there for getting involved and turning in poachers where you see it happen. So thank you very much, Yvonne. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
And for everybody watching, again, this is Fox 12 Now, and we cover a wide range of topics here on the show. Informative segments like this, letting the public know about some of these issues that are happening there out in our wilderness and with our wildlife here in the Northwest. We're switching gears at 1:30 p.m. and switching gears quite a bit. We're going to be talking actually about a Guy Fieri recipe competition, and there is a Portland chef from Ox who is currently sitting at number 2 as of right now. He came here in studio with his recipe, and just to talk about that in the Portland food scene, the culinary scene, and just what he's doing right now. It's pretty cool. Somebody from Portland is ranking so high on this. So we're going to discuss that at 1:30. If there's breaking news, we always have that as well right here on Fox 12 Now. And of course, you can go to KPTV.com or download the Fox 12 Oregon app. And that way you can follow up on all these segments afterward and watch them, share them, anything that you want to do there. So we appreciate it if you can do that as well. But we'll sign off for right now. We'll regroup here. We'll be back in just a few. I'm Greg Nibbler. This is Fox 12 Now.